Hello, hello. Okay, we are seeing works. I was being very blonde and using her Rode mics, and they're pink, and I had plugged in the other microphone instead of the actual like transponder, whatever Chandler Bing's job is. Hello everybody. Welcome to another Friday webinar. Very excited for everyone that's here. Today we'll be covering the 5 horsemen of the ads apocalypse strategy. If I can just get a heads up. So hello, Heather and Bay. Just confirming, is it better that you guys can hear me using this microphone? And then versus if it's far away from me, you shouldn't be hearing anything when it's that far away from me. I just want to double check that this is okay before I attach myself fully in. Well, hello, Etzo. Woohoo. Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay with our pink microphone. If not, well, too late, because there's definitely a delay in the comments, so that's super fun that we'll play with throughout, but that's not a problem. Yes, better with the mic. Okay, fantastic. Thanks for that heads up. So hello, everybody. Welcome. If you are new, this is a webinar series that we're doing every Friday. We started in 2025, and we're continuing through Q1 2026 and maybe further on. TBD, of course, just making sure that it adds value to the pack, who this is intended for. I've got my team on these calls. This is me training the pack, which is a group of team members at Mongoose Media. Pack of Mongoose, a group of Mongoose is called a pack, hence where the name came from. And I'm using these Friday webinars to do informal, but ideally informative introductions to big content pillars at Mongoose Media. So we're doing this week is all about paid advertising and on Meta, a specific strategy that we do that we have found to help us reduce CPMs and reduce CPAs, as well as get in front of a wider audience to do both marketing and advertising in tandem. Next week, I believe, is creative diversification. And then we've got our CMO, and then we've got our email triage, or whatever that order is. We are putting all of the events on mongoosemedia.us/events. So depending on when you're watching this, that page will be live. If not, hello, Pack, you're listening. We need to get that page live. Anyways, I'm really excited to have you here and introduce you to what we call the 5 horsemen of the ads apocalypse, which is a strategy that we employ and that we recommend that could potentially work for you. Now, like with everything in the world of Meta or any advertising, the 2 most important words are it depends. Will this work for you? It depends. There are no guarantees in anything, but our goal is to introduce you to new ways to look at it. We've got quite a large pack. We are based in Orlando, Florida, but today I'm calling in from Medellin, Colombia. So what's great about working remote is that we have the opportunity to go meet clients all around the world and share some of the strategies that we've got. Heather, appreciate you. You're putting into the live chat. For those, if you register for the webinar, you can see this, we're practicing. So we've got on the 23rd of January, creative diversification. On the 30th, a CMO impact reporting. We've got the email revenue maximizer on February 6th. And then creative diversification, 5 horsemen on 13th. Oh man, that's right before Valentine's Day. Cool. And then, the end of February, we've got the pipeline playbook. Oh, sorry. I'm like super excited for that one because so much like these combined together, because we're an agency, right? We have multiple departments. We have production, right? So in our operations, we have production and performance. And then of course, we've got the admin side. So a lot of the things come together to lead to growth. So on that, let's talk about the 5 horsemen of the ads apocalypse and what that means. So if you know about the horsemen of the apocalypse, we're just saying the ads apocalypse. And the most important thing to remember is the number 5. The too long, don't listen to the rest of this webinar or video, is that if you are putting all your eggs in one single campaign, you are missing out on a world of opportunity. I believe that when you're advertising, that's doing specific, you're advertising a product or service, you're advertising an offer. We want to put, between 80 and 60% of our budget towards what we actually want. But it will require us to market to the people. When you're advertising your offer or your services and products, you're likely going after people who are solution aware. But what about the bigger bucket of people? Those that are problem aware, but don't know that you're a good fit for them, or those that don't even know about the problem and need to be introduced to it. That is the world in which we're marketing. we're introducing our brand, we're agitating a problem that we can then come in and say, hello, we have arrived to fix all the problems we just introduced you to. For those that don't know the story about Listerine, it's a great example of creating a problem that their product solved. So don't quote me on this entirely, but as I understand at the beginning of the 1900s, the company behind Listerine introduced gingivitis or bad breathitis. I don't know if gingivitis is necessarily tied to bad breath, but they essentially said that you have bad breath, buy Listerine. People before then were not using mouthwash. So they introduced a problem that people were like, oh man, I do have bad breath. I want to solve this. So they created their own market. So they were able to market a problem and then advertise their solution. And when they were marketing the problem, they're also marketing their brand and introducing that Listerine is all this science behind it and is here to solve this new disease that they just invented. Other examples that I really like about how people can show the difference between advertising an offer or service or product versus marketing a brand or marketing, like agitating a problem. There's a water bottle company based out of Australia, and their messaging hook, their big introduction, like their verbatim hook was 97% of Australians are dehydrated. They're not advertising their bottle yet. They're marketing they're marketing to a problem, which is 97% of Australians are dehydrated. It's hooking you in. You're like, okay, tell me more. So some of the more cost-effective ways to introduce the problem, to get into the problem-aware, not necessarily solution-aware people yet, is to leverage other horsemen in your advertising strategy. So when we think about your advertising, most people are like, I want to get booked calls, so I'm going to do only a booked call funnel. I'm going to put all my eggs in that one booked call basket. Like, okay, cool. That's a great idea if your budget is super small, because when you have limited budgets, the thing that sucks about Meta is if you don't have $200,000 a month you're spending on advertising in Meta, they consider you small. Now, whether you're spending $2,000 a month, $2,000 a day, or $2 million a month, all of that is still important. But in the eyes of Meta, it's small. So depending on your budget, of course, you'll distribute it differently. And if you hang tight or like reach out to our team, we are actually launching a Meta Ads strategy calculator so that you can take our Horseman idea and then figure out based off of your budget where you should put the different campaigns. So going back to the 5 Horsemen, right? Our main hero campaign is what we want. You're in e-com, it's sales. If you're in lead gen, it's booked appointments, depending if you're high ticket, and that's a different system, right? If you're low ticket, it still might be sales because that's going to count as e-com. You're going to put the large majority into book call funnels or purchase funnels. But we have 4 other fingers on our 5 Horsemen, the Ads-Apocalypse campaign that we're going to be talking about. Now, there's dozens of different type of campaigns that you can use to market to your audience so that you can advertise your product or solution. So we're just going to go over today some of our favorites. This is not an exhaustive list by any means whatsoever. What I'm essentially trying to do is introduce you to other campaigns so that we can tackle a broader audience. We can get people more cost efficiently into our ecosystem so that when we're ready to advertise to them, we are as efficient as we can, which is lower CPAs, lower CPMs. And part of that comes from using different campaigns where your CPMs are significantly different. So I keep saying CPM. CPM stands for cost per 1,000 impressions. Mila, it's Latin. You know, I didn't make up the rules. So the CPM is the standard measurement in which we compare all channels to each other. Okay, the Super Bowl, I think, is like $65 a CPM. And then like on Meta, you might have like a $2 CPM. Now there's a big difference between if you do have a CPM of $65 on Meta versus a CPM of the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is going to everywhere, everyone, whoever's watching the game. Whereas within Meta, and you're using ad targeting and all of the data that they have on you, you're having a personalized audience you're sending it to. So if you sell a product that's predominantly for older women, you can spend that same $65 going after older women. Or you can spend that $65 and go after millions of viewers of the Super Bowl, which will have older women, but it's not as laser focused. So CPM is when you're like, okay, my Google CPM might be $400, my Meta CPM might be $65, my Pornhub CPM might be 7 cents, whatever the different things. It allows you to compare our different ad channels. But I'm also going to use that to compare our different campaign objectives, like what we're optimizing for. Remember, our hero campaign, which will either be our booked calls or our purchases campaign, we're putting 80% of our budget into that hero campaign. So is everyone else. Actually, most people are probably putting like 100% of their budget depending on like a consolidated ad account, and depending on the ad spend, you know, the more you spend, the less is focused on the bottom of funnel campaigns. But the good general rule of thumb is 60 to 80%. Bear with me. All right, I'm gonna get some water break. So you can tell this is live. Okay. I went horseback riding today and it went a little longer than I thought, so I got a little bit more tired. Okay, so going back into this, our hero campaign, purchases, booked appointments is expensive because it's crowded. It's highly competitive. You've got a lot of folks that are wanting to go after the same objective. And what happens when it's crowded? Mark Zuckerberg can be like, ooh, who's gonna pay me more? And it allows to increase the auction bid. The auction bid being when you submit an ad into Andromeda, ads retrieval engine program, like the network that chooses which ads to go, you place a bid. You say, I'm willing to pay X amount. The more competitive the objective, like sales or book calls, the more expensive the bid is going to be. And that's where we have CPMs. Lots of things can make a difference and impact it. We're just going to go very simplistic in this. It sucks when you're spending sometimes $100 to $200 a CPM, but you're ideally going after the customer you actually want. So you have a more laser focus on who you want and getting in front of them versus other objectives, the other 4 horsemen, where it's quite controversial. A lot of people don't like it because they think it's cheap traffic. You're like, why would I do a reach campaign? That's garbage traffic. Why would I do a traffic campaign? Why would I do an engagement? Why would I do video views? That's garbage. I want to go after only e-commerce sales. I want to go after only booked appointments. I get it. And for a while that worked. And then a thing called iOS update destroyed all of that from working. And what we are seeing, the most effective ways to expand into new markets, the most effective ways to stay competitive, to get in front of a broader audience by paying less, is to have other campaigns that most people will never do. And what's great about when most people never do it, it means our CPMs are very low. Because remember, if we're paying a lot more because it's super crowded, it means we're paying a lot less when it's not. So jumping into the different campaigns that we can do, I'm going to share my screen and talk to you about the different campaigns that are available. We have, I think, listed like 18 different ones, but there's definitely dozens of other options. So we are going to go after the ones that we're currently using. So what I can see on my screen right now is what we call invitational ads. So there's a stage of awareness and consideration. These are invitational ads, and then conversion ads is where we're advertising. So we're marketing and we're advertising our product or service. The reason why I've got invitational ads listed up here in green first and foremost is because I want to quickly define the difference between what ads can do and what ads aren't going to do. Oh, sorry. Note to self. Take a cup of coffee. No, I don't drink coffee. A cup of tea before this one. Okay, so sorry, I'm going to keep saying, okay, so if this is a drinking game and you have water, you're going to have to pee before the end of this webinar with how many times I'm going to say, okay, so cheers. What your ad is supposed to do, any ad or anything you're marketing, like the ad as the individual ad, it's to find the ideal customer and introduce what you have to say. You're trying to bring awareness to invite them to take a micro action. That micro action could be watch this video, go to this landing page, add to cart. But we have to remember that the ad's responsibility is advertising and marketing. The landing page, the product, and everything else is to support the conversion. The ad contributes, but it's not the only thing that sells. So if you're like, oh my gosh, my ad stopped working, I don't have any sales. Like, okay, let's reevaluate. What does your destination look like from that ad? What is the data going back into the thing? Something I like saying is before we spend $1, we need to make sure that the data and the destination are clean and clear. What I mean by that is when someone sees an ad and they're super aware to it, let's use a book call. They're like, oh my gosh, yes, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I can't wait to get on this person's calendar. So I click and I go to a page that talks about how to get on someone's calendar. Great. The ad itself did its job. I found an interested party and invited them with the opportunity to learn more. They went to the page. But then what happens when they get to the page? They have an application that's 27 questions long. Okay. You need to really, really want to do that call if you're going to have someone sit through 27 different questions before they're going to get on someone's calendar, where they know that calendar appointment is them going to get pitched. Is the ad responsible for getting more booked appointments completely? No. Can the ad help it? Yes. The ad can say, hey, by the way, don't click here if you're not willing to spend at least 16 minutes filling out a questionnaire because we need to be super nosy and not waste a minute of our time and do good questions. You can put that into the ad, but then it's still going to create all this friction point. So that's where there's an ecosystem that we just need to make sure, like when I'm saying invitational ads, we're inviting them to learn more. We're inviting them to engage. The ad is not responsible for the sale. The ad is responsible for introducing a product or service or conversation or information to an ideal customer who would be interested and willing to pay for product or service. I just want to be hyper clear on that. And again, like for the pack that's listening, like our ads are not responsible for conversions. Our ads have a contribution to that purchase. Our ads are responsible for getting ideal customers to check out what we have to say. But the product has to be good. The conversion experience has to make sense. All of the stuff that happens after the click has a significant impact on the ad's performance. So when you're a media buyer or a growth specialist, it's important that we're going to stack the chips in our favor, because once they click, unless you're working with an agency who has a growth systems architect like ours and you're doing a full management funnel looking at all the touch points, more than likely, as soon as that click happens and they've left Meta, in this case, you don't have any more control. You are reliant upon the conversion on the destination, where if it's a poorly mobile optimized experience, that sucks, but you can stack the chips by focusing on who you send it to. Maybe you only do a desktop placement in that example. So what I've got here is invitational for awareness and consideration. This is how we're going to stack our chips. By stacking our chips and controlling what happens before the click, we are just going to get more people opportunities to click so that they're not only going to the end destination, which usually is like, buy this right now. Isn't it great? Versus introducing people into why the solution is better than others, why the product costs the price that it does, the service costs the price that it does. We are in a trust recession, which means people don't trust everything blindly. Consumers are inside stores chat GPTing everything about your product before they decide to make that purchase. So if you don't have the consumer informed, they may not have incentive to buy it yet, which is why we're doing all these marketing. I'm just checking into the comments. Yeah, Heather, you're saying just more reason why ads are a piece. But after the clickety-click matters too. Yes, that's the term that we like to use. So there's before the click, after the click, and after the clickety-click. Because after the click is the destination, but after the clickety-click is, okay, what happens? What's the next destination, right? You sign up and you're subscribed. Okay, what happens now? I clicked on the ad and then I clicked on subscribe. Then what happens? Is that follow-up sequence super clear or not? So Iris is asking a question. Marketing is not sales. They are friends that fight. They're like sisters. Sales will always blame marketing for not giving us good leads. Marketing will always blame sales for not closing them. So while they're in the umbrella of growth, marketing and sales are like two sisters. Stop stealing my clothes, right? They're fighting with each other, but together they sit around and take wonderful pictures for Christmas, because that Christmas card is what tells the rest of the world that we're a happy family. And yeah, 100% ChatGPT instead of Googling, because Google has never had a really good app. Let's just be clear. Like, if you wanted to search for mobile, Google has never, ever had a quality app. That's on them. So yeah, no one is jumping into Google something, because you have to open up Google and then it opens up a screen and then, oh, what a mess. Okay, going back to this. So in our invitational ads, inviting people to learn more, inviting people to engage, inviting people to understand what we're about. This section costs pennies compared to our conversion ads. The whole point of our ads that you can see here is conversion ads, right? I am not saying don't do conversion ads. This is the whole point. But I am saying this is your hero campaign. And if we add the other 4 campaigns with it, you'll have greater success on your conversion campaigns. So the conversion campaigns being booked calls or sales, right? So we're super consistent with that. You'll notice that we have campaign 8, campaign 10. That's just our numbering convention. And so you'll see like we have as high as campaign 17. Then we have some like combos, like, yeah, there's obnoxious. It's 6, 7. It worked out that way. This was made long before that TikTok thing was a trend. I'm almost embarrassed that it exists, but we're not inventing new numbers now, because that would have us go into dozens of different ad accounts. Not worth it. But let's go into these other 4. So under the awareness and consideration ads, we have campaign 1, which is called page and profile visits. We have campaign 2, which is engagement. Campaign 3, which is video views. Campaign 4 for reach, the one that everyone hates. But before you hate on it, let's be clear. If you have what we've got here, USPs, reviews, and testimonials, if you have other people saying why you're great, whether it's like press publications, podcasts that you've been on, like UGC stuff of someone saying like, oh my gosh, look how amazing this was. Any of these testimonials, reviews, and unique selling points said by someone else, this is such a good low cost campaign to run. I know people hate reach. I get it. But if I can spend $2 to get in front of 1,000 people and let other people say why I'm great, why wouldn't I? Right? You did that news channel. You're on that podcast. You got this testimonial. You know what's better than saying you're great? Someone else saying you're great. And then spending $2 to get in front of all the people that you want to know that you're great. Now, something that would be good about this, and not like open to marketing works really well in Meta. Any other thing that's not open or broad is merely a suggestion. That's why before you spend $1, you need to make sure your data and your destination are queued up for success. The data that comes back into it, if you have a pixel, which is the Meta web browser tool, web cookie that sends data back in for website behavior, or maybe your CRM pixel or CAPI or whatever those pieces are, if you've got data going back in, Meta has a better understanding of who you are. If you have no data, it's not that Meta doesn't understand who you are. Meta's got like billions of visitors every hour accessing their assets. So, and maybe it's not every hour, maybe it's every 2 hours. And I said billions in plural, whatever that number ends up being, okay? You have all these visitors and they look at what your offer is, they read your landing pages, they can read what's on your profile, they know what are your posts. Meta knows about your business and has a standard assumption. So it's going to ideally go after people it thinks, but the more data you give it, the less guessing it has to do. So if you end up doing reach as a campaign first, you could spend $2 a day, $5 a day. I don't care. As long as you keep between 60 to 80% or as high as 90% of your budget on the hero campaigns we want, you can introduce one of our other horsemen, so hero campaign, and then maybe it can be the second horseman is a reach campaign. And you can have a micro budget on it that's going to have a macro impact to your brand. Because when you start using reach, it's like a digital herpes billboard. You're telling Meta, like, put some, recommendation suggestions of who you want it to reach and saying, tell all the world what these people are saying about me, because I like it. This is a really good way, because then people are gonna be like, oh, that's interesting. And then what happens when you have someone that engages with your reach ad? Meta's going to get intent signals from them and be like, oh, this person's interested in what you have to say, which should then make it cheaper for when you book a call or advertise a sale. So this is like you can spend $2 as a CPM, let's say as high as 10. Like let's Let's be like super conservative and not think a lot's going to happen. You can spend $10 to get in front of 1,000 people to share the best news about you. Super easy. So this is before someone says on reach. I love this campaign, especially when you're using it to build brand credibility off of other people's words. Another side way of how I like reach is when you go to a conference. And so we've done this a few times. It's a really good thing for anyone who's watching, or for the team. I'm speaking at the event in Arizona in February. So this is something we definitely want to implement. You use a reach campaign, you spend a few bucks, like we've done $50 a day. And what happens is I'll have like 10 or 15 ads hyper concentrated into the area that I'm speaking in, so that everyone that I'm speaking to is going to see all these different value in advance ads where I'm just taking content. I'm not asking for anything besides recognition. I'm going to give this value in advance content so that you're going to learn from me before you hear from me. So if I'm speaking at Elite Growth Summit or Grow with Elite. And so, we'll have a few hundred business owners in the room. We're in Scottsdale or Phoenix, Arizona. And before I go on that stage, success is spending $50 a day to get 10 or 15 value in advance videos out to that area means that when I take the stage, I'm not unfamiliar. I am not asking for a call to action. I'm asking for recognition. And what's happened at times, I'm like, oh, I've seen you on Facebook or I've seen you on Instagram. And that repetitiveness of just giving value is another like really good use of like $2 to $20 a day. Now I'm saying $50 a day when I'm concentrated in 3 days because I want them not to see one ad. I want them to see like 10 of my value in advance. So they're like, hey, I recognize you. I'm like, hi, I'm more important than you thought. Wah-ha-ha-ha. And it only cost me $50 a day. So again, when people poo-poo reach, I just want to be clear, like there's two really good uses to do it. Spend a little bit of money to get other people's words to represent you and introduce your brand, invite what you're about, or in our invitation, drive awareness so that someone can know who you are. And then when they send intent signals, engagement, comments, views, whatever type of consumptions, when we go back to our hero campaign, they're already inside of our ecosystem. So Meta says, oh, let's get more people like this because they're interacting with positive sentiment on our ads. Okay, let's keep going on the awareness size. Campaign 5 we've got here is traffic. Traffic campaign is just saying, I want someone to visit the site. Again, a lot of people are like, oh, I hate traffic campaigns. It's garbage traffic. I'm like, well, is it? If we're saying, hey, let's do reach because I want people to be like, oh, that's really cool. I learned something new. Or like, I saw someone else brag about you. Awesome. And then we can do traffic. This is where, remember that person that's in the store chat GPTing? Is this a good product for my face? Will my sensitive skin have a bad reaction? Will this pink mic be giving on my webinars? You're looking up this stuff before you're actually making a purchase, right? Where traffic campaigns, so say, let's make that our third horseman of today's ads apocalypse. When we bring in traffic, we can take the content your team has already created and get that in front of eyeballs. Remember with reach, we're not asking for a call to action. We're just delivering value. I'm looking for consumption. With traffic, we're continuing that consumption, but we're taking it off property. So leaving Meta, leaving Instagram. And so you've got here like services page, blogs, homepage. If you've got a page that you're proud of, if you've got a page that is introducing someone, like a page you would want an ideal customer to see before they get to your scheduled call, this is a very good solution to use because we can spend a third, if not more, of the price that it would take to go after someone to visit our service page by introducing them to other important websites that tells them why you're a good solution. I love doing this for blogs. If you're spending money on blogs and you're not driving traffic to your blogs and you're just going to be like, I hope the LLMs pick it up. Maybe someone will Google or Bing this as a solution. When the reality is it's probably sitting on page 1400 of all the other blogs that are written sooner or better than yours. But if you have something that's good, I love using this. Let's be our third horseman for today's ads apocalypse. I love using blogs because you get to leverage content you wrote. You get to bring value to people before they're ready to decide. You get to encourage them to move down funnel and build trust with you. So much of our ads, invitation, success of getting someone to invite into our system, interact with our ads, is to buy credibility and trust. That's what our marketing does. Advertising is like getting them to buy a product or service. Our marketing is getting them to, like, we are buying their trust, right? So does that make sense? If I'm sending you blogs with the information that you're going to Google anyways and stuff that's valuable for a lot cheaper and a lot more impact, we can have this. But again, as long as we have between 60 and up to 90%, usually 80% of your budget is focused on your hero campaign. This blogs just lets us do where we can say, hey, Meta, here's a really good piece of content that anyone who is interested in buying a pink roadie mic would want to see, which is like, maybe there's a blog of like 4 ways to make your webinars feel more authentic in 2026, right? And then one of them is your microphone should have as much personality as the host. So it can give lots of value, like, oh, I didn't think about that. Let me look at, oh, they have orange, they have red, they have white, they have all these different colors. Cool, I didn't know. I'm being introduced to the problem that now my webinars have no personality because my mic has no personality, to which I'm going to be more ready to receive the ads offering the product than if I didn't know the importance of having personality on your webinar through the mic. I'm using this example because I believe like Heather had said in the comments somewhere that like the mic with personality. Yes, it's like, look, it's like fluffy. Okay, so again, I love blogs. I love traffic campaigns. If you're gonna do it, always optimize for the landing page view, not the link clicks. Because when you have people that leave Instagram or Facebook, go to your website, and then maybe go to another page, all those positive intent signals go back into Meta to find people that are really interested. We're looking at our top of funnel and bringing them down, right? So if we have someone that engages with the reach campaign where we're like top of funnel, right? Like doing like the YMCA. Jeez. Okay, top of the funnel. Someone who sees a reach and they're like, oh my gosh, Lauren was in the Orlando Sentinel and she was quoted for all of this work that her company is doing with AI. Interesting, I didn't know, I'm now aware. Then we say, hey, here's a blog that talks about 6 ways you could implement AI in your workforce that's gonna actually make you money versus cost you a headache. So someone's gonna read that article like, okay, yeah, that is really interesting. The longer they stay on your website, dependent upon the metapixel setups you have, you're gonna continue to send intent signals back to Meta. Remember, before you spend $1, data and destination. So if they're on your website, they read one blog, and then they go to another blog, and they're consuming more and more and more. All those page views, all those visits, all that time on site is going back into Meta to tell them, hey, thanks for finding this person. This person is doing a lot more activity than this person that didn't click. So I can then say, Meta, find me more of those people. Like, we don't even have to ask Meta. Meta's gonna say, yes, I wanna find more of these people who are sending us stronger intent signals so that when it comes time to advertise a product or service, they're ready. So I love the blogs. My only like hat tip for if you are doing our campaign 5, a traffic campaign for blogs, as your third horseman in this case, make the ads clickbaity. Your content, your blogs are giving value. So let's make that like the movie and the ad is the poster. So the poster is supposed to be something that's like gonna say, hey, like 97% of Australians are dehydrated, but 80% can eliminate in 7 days with this. A lot of us can remember like those BuzzFeed articles or like quizzicals where you have like, which Disney princess are you? Or 15 things that all blondes do wrong in Medellin. You would be shocked at what number 4 is. Those type of hooks that make you want to go to the destination is what really works well for blogs. So if you've got quality blog content, just make a clickbaity type of ad to get people to find an answer. So questions work really, really well, as long as your answer is super clear. We don't want to do a bait and switch and say like, oh my gosh, gremlins I don't know why gremlins are coming up. I'm not coming up with a good example, but say like, you're like, dogs are obsessed with chocolate now because today is not a good coming up with funny solutions. So I was like, next time I'll come prepared and show examples of what we've done and show like the KPIs and how they've worked. But you don't want to be inauthentic in your clickbaity stuff. You want to ensure that whatever you're putting in the ad is aligned with whatever is in the destination. And you want to make sure that you're providing value with maybe you sneak in and if you'd like to learn more, here's how you can get on our calendar. Or if you'd like to take this home, here's where you can buy the pink roadie mic. So I love the traffic as our third horseman in the ads apocalypse. So what essentially we've said is, let's say we're spending $1,000 a day. Let's put $700 a day on our booked calls funnel, right? So on campaign 8, if we're doing $1,000 a day and we're trying to do book calls, 700 should be on campaign 8, which means we have a 300 distribution across the other 4 horsemen in our ads apocalypse. If we're doing $300 a day, we've got 1 horseman for blogs, which is campaign 5 traffic, and another horseman for campaign 4, which is our reach campaign. That allows us another 2 more campaigns that we can do to help us move down the funnel. So if there was a cheat sheet and you're like, well, how do I choose? You've got 17 different ones. Fair. Cheat sheet could be, you have 1 on conversion, 2 in awareness, 2 in consideration. Like with always, the 2 words that matter most, it depends. But if you're like, okay, just give me a quick and easy answer, I would choose 2. And so for today, I would choose reach and blogs. I can argue why there are so many other ones to do. And while I'm saying 5 horsemen of the ads apocalypse is the minimum you need to start, I'm not saying it's the maximum. Because what you want to do is set up your ad campaigns consolidated so that you're getting more of what you want. And then you're ultimately setting up ads that are unique to each objective and unique to each concept, so that we don't have the same ad in a book of leads as we have in our reach campaign, which is the same as we have in our blogs traffic campaign. We want unique ads. We want to have personalized and relevant ads to the objective. And so I wouldn't say like, hey, I've got a really good testimony. I'm going to test it in my sales. I'm going to test it in reach. I'm going to test it in video engagement. That's not what we're doing at all. I like starting off with 5. And the other number that matters here is 6. For a long time, Meta didn't want you having more than 6 ads in one ad set. Now I'm flipping it. Not because they've said 6 at minimum or anything like that. The creative diversification demands of Andromeda. Again, the newest changes to the programmatic AI at Meta that's doing all the ad retrievals has been creative diversification demands. Now, we have a creative diversification webinar next week. So next Friday, where we're going to go into a lot more in depth of which ads to put on, right? So we're talking about which campaigns to run. Next week, we're going to be talking about which creatives to associate to those campaigns and why we need to start with at least 6. So if we're saying create 5 campaigns, your hero campaign, and in this use case, we're doing reach and traffic, each of those campaigns need at least 6 different ads. And I'm not talking about Lauren with a pink mic, Lauren with a black mic, Lauren without a mic. I'm talking about 25% minimum difference. So while there's lots of other campaigns that we're not going to go about in today's ads apocalypse, it doesn't make sense to launch everything at once because we want to foundationally set it up for success first. Okay, so let's go choose our other 2 horsemen for today, pulling from the consideration. So there's consideration that's around phone calls and leads. What I like right now, what we are testing, is that 6-7 hybrid campaign. You notice campaign 6 is lead gen in-app forms. Campaign 7 is lead gen website. If you're doing lead generation, those are the 2 easy ones to pick. But what I'm excited about, because my webinar, my rules, my current vibes are around this combination of 6-7. So what you can go inside of the ads manager platform, you go in and you choose leads as your objective, and then at the ad set level, at the ad set level, you choose the destination, and you can do website and leads. You can do, like you'll see here, like there's lots of options, right? You can do in-app form only, website only. You can do phone calls. You can do phone calls and web forms. There's lots of options. In today's, like our 4th hero reach traffic, our 4th Horse, I would say, is this hybrid, which allows you to not have competing ads. So you choose, it's going to be, you choose website and app as the destination. And when you build the ad, you're going to choose both the lead form and give the URL you want someone to go to. So that Meta is going to say, whether Bay or Irish or Heather or Tanya or whoever that is, based off of their behavior across all the other ads that Meta's put in front of them, I am going to control what the destination is without us having to break that into two separate campaigns. This hybrid one is like relatively new for me. I want to say like 2 months old for how long I've noticed it. It could have been around for longer. I'm not sure. But a lot of the times, like we do campaign 6 in-app forms, campaign 7 website leads. We isolate them, but then the ads get to be the same. And that's the whole purpose of why I want the ads apocalypse. I don't want any ads. I want only personalized and relevant ads to the objective. So we're testing this 6-7. Biggest downfall, though, is when you're looking at reporting, it says multiple conversions. Whenever you set it up, you always know, like, I want to have the same conversion objective, because then you don't see a number until you're inside the ad set. So when you're at the campaign level of ads manager, you're like, oh, I want to know how many leads did my campaign 6-7 generate leads. But you have to go to the ad set level because there's multiple destinations. So I would choose 6-7 as our fourth horseman, where you go into the ad set and you say, I want both apps, in-apps and website leads. And I love that Meta is choosing which destination is going to drive the highest likelihood of a conversion. And a conversion event in this use case is an opt-in. And then the other campaign that I would choose, so we have combo phone call and web leads, phone calls only, complete registration, lead gen in this. If you're going to choose 2 and you're not going to do the testing of the hybrid, you would choose 6 and choose 7. If you're doing the hybrid, like I'm recommending that you do, you might have noticed earlier when I said leads, I went into quotation marks. For me, especially if you watch our pipeline webinars, I am very strong that someone is a lead only when they have an interest in what you have to sell. Someone's a subscriber if they have an interest in what you have to say. Okay, let's see. Can you hear me now? Oh, that's funny. Just switched microphones. I see someone's raising their hand to speak. Ah, I see Miss Heather. Heather, can you hear me? Oh, wireless. Okay, it's saying that there's sound. Heather, can you hear me? Okay, yes, you can all hear me now. Okay, cool. Microphone died. Whoops, I grabbed the wrong one. No, I just want my fuzzy pinky things. Okay. Woohoo! Thank you guys. Heather's joined the room. Do you want to hear it went silent?
Yeah, it's come back on now too. I'm like, how do we help you out? I'm wondering if the mic got touchy.
I think the mic died.
Oh, or that. Yeah, that could be it. All right.
It happens.
Sweet.
Well, thanks
You
for
got
jumping in to try to
this.
help.
It's been a bit though, so it's hard to remember where you're at.
Oh shoot. It's been a hot minute. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Dang, guess people are just have to tune in for the next time.
Yeah.
When I was explaining, I'm going to use your help on this. When I was explaining the campaign objectives and showing like, hey, here's where you click for website forms, was that coming through, or were you guys just looking at these pictures without context?
Maybe those in the chat can kind of help. I started troubleshooting and not paying attention.
3 minutes. Oh man.
Yeah, it was a bit. I know you were talking about them. I just don't remember seeing where you were doing the actual location. You were talking about that aspect.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I'll jump back to a little bit and we'll finish on the last one. And
I'll jump back as an attendee. You got this.
It's informal, but ideally informative. Okay, so you were just looking at the pics. It's like a silent film era for 3 minutes. That was just a time we were just checking if you were paying attention. Okay, so with the campaign types, so that's 6-7 where we're saying that hybrid, we've got this picture here. So when you're choosing to get that hybrid, you click on leads. This is one of the 6. You choose on leads and you can see like, here's all the different options. We list out all the different options here, so more details. And then when you're looking at the conversion location, you choose both website and instant forms. So that which I don't have a picture, tells you that Meta is going to choose the destination, either the in-app form or the website, based off of what is a higher likelihood to yield in a conversion. So the location will be dependent on that user's history or engagement with their accounts in the past. So if we're going for our 5, we've got our hero campaign, book calls or sales. Then we've got reach and we've got traffic today. And then I'm choosing 6-7, right? Where we're doing both this website and instant forms combination, where caveat, when you're looking at the performance, it's going to say multiple events. So it's not as clean as when you're doing a campaign 6 and a campaign 7 of instant forms and websites isolated, because you can see those much cleaner at the campaign level in Ads Manager, but you'll still be able to get the leads generated. You just have to go in a little bit deeper. So we're testing it right now, which is why today I'm choosing that as our 4th Horseman on the Apocalypse. And then jumping down to number 5. So in number 5, I would choose right now this complete registrations. I've used leads to indicate anyone that people usually think are leads, but really you're a lead if you've just opted in to hear what I have to say, not what I have to sell. So if you're signing up for a lead magnet, or if you are signing up a contact form, unless you've given me some indication that you're actually interested in the services that we offer, to me, you're not a lead, you're a lead. Or what I use standard event is this complete registration. So I like campaign 9, but you'll note here, complete registration. If doing leads objective, only for a website. Otherwise, sales objective to get audience segment breakdowns. What I love about that is when you choose the objective of sales. So if we go back here, this sales objective, you could choose leads and go for conversion, or you could choose sales and go for complete registration as an event. What will happen is you're allowed to then go into the breakdowns and see who is new, who is engaged, and who is existing. That is a function only for sales campaign objectives as of late. when you do that, it helps define to Meta who you want. But you have to set up who is your existing audiences in the ad settings, which means you have to upload who's your customer list. You have to create a website audience of people visiting your page the last 180 days. You have to build a list of people that are interacting with your lead forms in the last 90 days. And you have to upload a customer list. So you tell Meta, these are my customers. That allows us to create an engaged audience and an existing customers audience. So when you're doing complete registration, which is my 5th one in today's apocalypse, especially for lead magnets, right? Excuse me, especially for lead magnets, what's amazing about those lead magnets is if you use the, let me go back here, the campaign 9 sales objective with complete registration, you can then do even more intricate stuff, such as with the complete registration and complete registration only, you have the ability to add a status of false or true. So when we do complete registration for what we deem our leads, the subscribers, false is someone who's signed up. True is someone who is given an active click, someone who has shown engagement, someone who has proven themselves as not a bot, to the best that we can do. And we can change that through 3 ways. Manually update it in case they pick up the phone when we call, automatically if they click on an email, or automatically if they reply to an email. So that whole proof of life, if you've listened to our email maximizer, this comes in really hard. So in the 5, I like doing complete registration, especially for our lead magnets. They're like quick and easy. I'm just trying to grow a subscriber list. Then I would use 6, 7 when we're going after like actual leads. So people that are interested in what we have to sell. Now, what I like about this is you can see like lead mags downloadable would be complete registration, but discount codes, when we are giving someone a discount code and you're using the 6, 7, that's such a good use case of someone who's an actual lead. If you're in e-commerce and you're already giving a discount code to someone who gets your website, like a welcome 10, whatever those pieces are, it's so good to do those also in your campaigns. Remember, we had an $1,000 budget, and we were saying $700 a day was spent on book calls or sales, and we're dividing that $300 up between the other 4. So we have complete registrations for like lead magnets. We have 6, 7 for actual like lead generating stuff. So subscribers versus leads, where they're showing us they're interested in what we have to sell. Then we use traffic, and then we use reach. So if we're doing 700 to the book calls, how I would distribute that last $300 is I would take 200 of that dollars and make sure that of the 300, 200 at least is being spent on 6, 7 and complete registration. I'd put more of it on the 6, 7 than complete registrations, assuming that you have a better lead magnet, which is more connected to your product and services versus just connected to the topic in which you're serving in. And then I would take that last remaining $100 and put it in our reach and traffic campaigns, to which I would do probably like $60, $70 in the blog campaign. And then I would do about $40 to $30 in the reach campaign. So if we were spending $1,000 a day, I'd put 700 at least into our hero campaign, which is our book caller sales. Then I would spend $200 in our conversion, and then $100 in our awareness. And that is how we can create at least 5 campaigns set up for success, so that we can market to potentially interested people, invite them to what we have to say, and provide them with more information so that when they are ready to make a decision, when they come down our funnel, we're the first and only obvious option. So that's the 5 horsemen of the ads apocalypse. It doesn't stop at 5, it starts at 5. And then inside of each of those campaigns, you're going to choose at least 6 different ads. Now, you saw on that list, there's a lot of other ones. I love the Instagram profile visits. I love video engagements if you've got podcasts. You can make more than 5. But if I were starting from scratch right now, I would start there. If you're like, well, hey, Lauren, I don't want to use the difference between complete registration and leads. Okay, cool. I would still put $200 into that. And then instead of doing the default of 2 awareness and 2 consideration, I would do our hero campaign, 3 awareness, 1 consideration with that hybrid 6, 7. And then the third campaign I would do is if you are investing a lot in your Instagram profile, or if you've invested a lot into creating videos, then I would choose one of the other awareness campaigns, the campaign 1 or campaign 3. Campaign 2 and campaign 1 are dependent on you having a solid organic strategy. And it can work well if you want to maximize the value out of what you're already creating and leverage your existing assets. I just realized I was sharing the screen and no one could see. I'm sorry about that. So if we were not doing, say you're like, I don't want to get between complete registration and leads. I don't want to do that fight. I'm just going to do one, put all my leads into 6, 7. Great. Then I would add either 1 or 3 into that 5 horsemen. And then of course, like you have 2, but if you wanted to do like 1 or 2, which is why I'm not saying 2 at the moment, it requires so much more work into your existing social media strategies. So, okay, that's today's 5 horsemen. Come back in 4 weeks. We'll continue expanding on it. Can give updates on like what's working. Maybe my current 5, if I was starting from scratch, might change. Or we can even expand if someone comes on and is like, hey, I'm actively doing this. I can go into like, what are the next campaigns that we do, how we can start iterating, and how you can measure that the micro budgets you're putting at top of funnel are making macro impacts to your bottom of funnel. Thanks so much for everyone joining and for bearing with me during our moments of silence. Happy Friday. Thanks, everyone.